What's going on, everyone? Welcome, Rabid here. We've been talking over the past few days here about Monero versus Qubic, or Qubic versus Monero. Qubic is trying to out through probability using that to attack essentially Monero. Now it looks like Monero did have a form of defense, not in the terms of miners, but a DDoS attack came to Monero's defense. Where it actually came from and if it actually happened is still up in the air, depending where you look or who you ask. But here's an article courtesy of Cointelegraph that kind of runs through some things. Let's take a look at it. All right, guys, so Monero takeover disrupted by alleged DDoS attack on Qubic mining pool. The Qubic mining pool, which is attempting a 51% takeover of Monero, is allegedly being hit by a distributed denial of a service attack linked to the Monero community. A mining pool behind an attempted 51% takeover of Monero is reportedly under a distributed denial of service (DDoS) attack, disrupting the effectiveness of its attempt. In a Sunday X post, Sergey Evangelo, I'm probably butchering that 100%, who claims responsibility for the takeover attempt, said the Qubic mining pool he controls is under a DDoS attack. He added that the attack resulted in the mining pool's hash rate falling from 2.6 gigahash per second down to 0.8 gigahash. One user questioned whether DDoS is a sustainable response to the attempt on Monero and asked Ivanchelalo, I'm just going to say it, and asked the guy for an estimate of its cost. The guy said it has no cost due to presumed control over a Monero mining malware network by the attackers. Zero cost if you already have a botnet to mine Monero. So this might be a come from beyond. Maybe that's his actual name. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if that's actually him. But pretty much what he's saying here is, as we know, a lot of botnets are mining Monero, and a botnet pretty much has a whole bunch of infected Intel and whatever CPUs all around the world here from people clicking on bad links and stuff. Their computers are affected. The botnet essentially points all that hardware throughout the world to mine Monero to their address. So that's a botnet, free power, and so on. And Monero has been dominated by botnets for quite some time. So it looks like the botnets are actually coming to the defense of Monero. If this is the case and this DDoS did indeed happen, remember, that's still kind of up in the air depending on the angle and question you look at here. But it looks like botnets, because obviously they have a lot to lose if something does happen to Monero. So that's kind of what this is going on here. So we are building protection, assuming they can do it indefinitely, he said. So it looks like Come From Beyond, if that is him, is saying they're going to be building some protection. And I did see him make an X post, regarding this protection thing. So I do think that's who they're talking about. This Avachalo. I just want to say like Michelangelo from Ninja Turtles or something. But yeah, that guy. Anyway, a DDoS attack floods a target with traffic from multiple sources, overwhelming it and making it inaccessible. Those attacks are often conducted through malware-controlled infected computer networks called botnets. So essentially, just what we just said, all those computers that the botnet does control to mine Monero, he can also point to that IP addresses to pretty much attack it and, give them a denial of service by spamming their, IPs and stuff like that, and it slows their networks right down. So that's kind of what's going on here, if that's the case. Now, this is the angle I was telling you about whether this DDoS happened or not. So unlikely that Qubic mining pool under DDoS attack. So now you're like, wait, what's going on here? So on Monday, I don't know, Come From Beyond possibly said in another X post that Qubic is under DDoS attack from Monero. Monero or the botnets or the XMRig dev, no one really knows what is going on. All they know is supposedly they're under a DDoS attack, and added that the DDoS attack had lasted 6 hours. He also said his team had implemented protections to mitigate the disruption, like a CAPTCHA before every share sent or something on a blockchain. I'm just kidding. That's not what they did. I have no idea what they did. Some people are still trying to figure out how to fully stop DDoS attacks, and it looks like they figured it out in a couple hours. Qubic is that smart, supposedly. Anyway, let's see what those desperate guys will manage to break this time, he said. Cointelegraph verified that direct queries to the Qubic mining pool returned an average response time of 0.188 seconds across 3 endpoints, with no dropped requests. Considering that traffic was routed through a virtual private network server, this falls within normal operation limits and does not suggest an ongoing DDoS attack. I know you've been to websites where you played video games or something like that before. If something is under a DDoS attack, you cannot enter. It takes forever to load it, or you get all sorts of other issues, and ultimately you just can't get in because it's just severely under attack. So here's look like they're getting in within normal times that they should, not looking like an attack. Now remember, this is after the attack happened, but who knows. Cointelegraph's investigation concluded that the pool operated normally at the time of writing. Still, the investigation cannot prove whether a successful DDoS attack was previously performed. So, it might have been fixed at this point. The protections were up, and then obviously that's why everything is working as intended based on that when they actually tested it. So we don't know, they're just saying, when they tested it, it was fine. I don't know at the time of writing when they actually wrote this and during versus the test or the hack and so on like that. Anyway, mining pool stats data shows Qubic as the last mining pool with no hash rate after it stopped reporting its hash rate on July 30th. Still, Qubic's hash rates tracking service claims that its intermediate mining sees peaks at 1.6 gigahash when the network's intermediate mining operation switches to Monero. So remember, we talked about this a few days ago. They are referring to this right here, where it's saying, API error last seen 6 days ago. This is in stealth mode by design, so you can't just come to here and track it. So this is something we are aware about, so we don't have to worry. It is in fact online, and I showed you, and on a live stream, this is the website that you can actually use to utilize and track Qubic and stuff. Now, here is another interesting side of the whole thing. XMRig developer accused of coordinating the DDoS attack. Maybe, it's possible. He's a smart guy too. He's, pretty much, he made the miner to mine Monero, the RandomX algorithm. So anyway, we have Ivanchko shared his suspicion. So come from beyond, because I think that's exactly who they're talking about here. Shared his suspicions that the developer of Monero mining software, XMRig, Sergey, did I say that right? Sergey, I know you're a smart guy. I've talked to you in Reddit a lot. So if I messed up your name, let me know, and I apologize severely. But yeah, so Sergey here. Chernik. Okay, I'm just going to say XMRig dev. I apologize. But so the XMRig dev guy here orchestrated the DDoS attack. In a screenshot of a Reddit comment verified by Cointelegraph, XMRig dev here talked about a solution when responding to a user's comment referring to actors in the illegal market who depend on Monero for anonymous transactions and their presumed motivation to help protect it. In a statement to Cointelegraph, XMRig dev did say that the publicly discussed plans critically suggested a legal solution. This can also be seen in the full comment reference above, where he wrote, "I have a solution, even a fully legal solution for them." He highlighted that he has yet to see proof of a DDoS attack even taking place and added, "I'm not behind any DDoS attempts which allegedly happened." Monero is known for its privacy-first feature set and strong focus on anonymity. Due to its emphasis on anonymity, it is reputed to be used as a currency to pay for illegal goods and services on the so-called deep web, and is reportedly accepted by half of all the black markets and, people that, privacy does privacy. So here is Come From Beyond, kind of putting together some things here why he thinks this attack did originate from the XMRig dev. So I was asked why I had thoughts that the XMRig dev had orchestrated the attack. See the screenshots, time of the first attack, and the method matched when, how it was done. So here is 7 days ago. You're saying something about because there are plans to illegal markets and have billions at stake. So he's like repeating himself here or replying to it to show people if what you say is really true and they are willing to put a small fraction of percentage of those billions to counter the alleged 51% attack, but they don't know how to do it, then I have a solution, even fully legal solution for them. And then here he is again, XMRig dev. But as soon as they actually start their attack, I will share my plan to exploit Qubic on Reddit, in this Discord, everywhere. Stay tuned. I've thought it from A to Z. It will work. And again, everything will be how you wanted, but not how you expected. Stay tuned. Anyways, I actually need to start doing some coding and not lose my time chatting here. Guys, you open source and it looks like it's going to the Qubic client. It's fun to deep dive into assembly code, of course, but I have short patience. And then, it's kind of going through. So this is why Come From Beyond, he was saying he has a solution, all this stuff, and then DDoS has started happening. So is he behind it? Is it the botnets behind it? Are they all working together? Who knows? The point here is, if a DDoS did happen and it prevented a possible attack on Monero, Monero stood up for themselves and they actually prevented it and it went through. Now, if the DDoS didn't happen, then obviously Qubic failed. So it's looking like both sides is claiming this DDoS kind of did happen, but we don't really know 100%. So in other screenshots from what appears to be Discord and could not be verified by Cointelegraph, XMRigDev reportedly discussed the upcoming start of a response effort to Qubic's ongoing takeover attempt against Monero. He is also the author of the top comment and is now deleted Reddit post with the title "Praise That XMRigDev." He blamed that alleged DDoS attack on me, which is a defamation because I didn't do it. It's not like I'm the only person in the Monero community who is not happy with what they're trying to do, but I would never resort to illegal methods like a DDoS. Other people might, and it makes sense that, one or a couple of the large botnets on Monero very well could have done this, but we just don't know for sure. But he is not taking credit for any of this that would happen. And, I believe him personally. I do believe him. He's helped me out a lot. He seems like an honest person. And he came out and said, he has ways to deal with it. And obviously one of the ways is not doing it through a DDoS. So, that kind of questions, did he actually do it or not? And I don't think he did. So the XMRigDev here did hint at other fully legal countermeasures that he is working on. He claimed to have deliberately kept his post vague or even mislead to avoid revealing his countermeasures. So he does have something cooking in the kitchen, which, a lot of people expected somebody in the Monero infrastructure somehow would be, with all this going on. So the XMRig developer added that DDoS attacks are not legal in most or all jurisdictions and were never considered by him. He admitted that he cannot speak for others in the community, adding, "If my post encouraged someone, it was not my intention." So Monero network faces takeover threat. And it's going to get a little more threatening, which we're going to look at in a minute as well after we're done this post here, because it looks like more money is going to be going into Qubic miners' hands this epoch coming up. So the reset is tomorrow at the time of releasing this video. And now they're going to be upping their emissions to more CPUs to pay out even more to CPUs. So interesting stuff. But let's continue on here. Monero network faces takeover threat, and this is part of the takeover threat here that I'm going to bring up after this. But as Cointelegraph previously reported, the Qubic network is using its hash rate and economic incentives to attempt a network net takeover of Monero. And this is something we looked at in my past live stream. Maybe I'll even go through that a little bit in this video. This is going to start turning long. I was hoping just for a quick one here, but this may turn into a long video because I'm going to go over the money that Qubic actually has, and it's over double of what Monero is paying for security, which means profit-driven miners, who just mine for profit, they're getting paid over double of mining Qubic than they are to help the security of Monero. So that's a big issue that's going on as well. So after seeing its Monero mining pool quickly rise to become the largest, Qubic saw its market share decline soon after the community became aware that its openly disclosed plan to take over the network. Because obviously people don't like it. People don't want to be part of attacks and things like that. But then again, you had no profits for GPUs and other hardware over the past 3.5, 4 years now. So people are looking for any profits anywhere. And profits are coming from Qubic. So now you're kind of up in the air versus, profit-driven miners versus morals. What's going on? The Monero mined by Qubic is used to fund token burns and buybacks for the Qubic ecosystem, where miners are paid in Qubic tokens. According to the project, mining Qubic is currently more profitable than mining Monero. And I've done tests in the past, and it 100% is over double of mining Monero. By a decent shot there. So here this come from Beyond again? Yeah, so I think this has come from Beyond, who also founded crypto projects NXT and IOTA, not sure what they are, but I'm sure some of you guys do, has openly admitted that his operation was attempting a takeover of the Monero network. Yeah, that's true. They are not hiding it. They've been saying this for a while. They're not hiding. They're trying to take it over. Like, that is 100% their plan. And they also claim once they do it successfully, they have bigger coins to go to. So what is next after Monero. But first, we got to see if they can do it to Monero. In an X post, he said that after getting control of most of the network's hash rate, his pool would reject blocks mined by other pools, effectively centralizing the network into a single pool, and then they would be getting all the blocks at that point. Come from Beyond said Monero should redirect hash rate to P2 pool or a small mining pool. He said that having 2 or 3 pools controlling the majority of the hash rate has been a long-term problem for Monero. Now, majority of the coins out there have only 1 or 2 pools dominating the hash rate. Monero and Bitcoin and stuff are some of the most decentralized coins out there, and it's always been pushed at. So yes, having only a few pools, having the majority of the hash rate is bad, but you got to remember, like, it is spread out pretty good. Like the top 3 or 4 pools on Monero are within, 20 to 30%. There's none at 40% plus. So it is a decent decentralized for the hash rate that Monero does have. So, it's really hard to, like, this is true, but at the same time, it's not. Now, I do agree with this. P2 pool should 100% be the main way to mine Monero. I do have videos on how to set that up and how to mine Monero through P2 pool. You should do this. This would be the ultimate decentralized way for Monero mining. Anyway, Monero's P2 pool is a decentralized mining pool that allows miners to collaborate without relying on a central server. It has no operator and no single point of failure, with each miner running a full node. So yeah, that's what it is. You guys are running your own nodes, mining to it. You also got some pool software in there, and all your pool software is kind of linked together as a pool, and you guys are all mining together, but through your own nodes, adding all that decentralization. So yeah, that is ultimately the best way to mine Monero, and it looks like that is the end of our post. So now I want to talk a little bit about how much Qubic is paying miners, because it is a lot more than Monero. All right, so now for money. Here's what Monero has for its security. On top of obviously being a really strong community here, here's what they're paying miners. So profit-driven miners, this is kind of what they're looking at. Maybe they're not looking at this because they don't understand it, but a lot that are looking at profits and understand profits is what you look at. So a mission schedule on Monero at the current price of $289 is about $125,000 a day. Now you can merge mine Tori with it, which is pretty much another $20,000 here. So that's about $145,000 per 24 hours, mining Monero and Tari together, merge mining. So that's the security that Monero has right now. I think if Tari if they went full emissions on Monero only to help them out, this would boost up quite a bit. So that would obviously give another 2, 4, 6, 8. That would be another $80,000 in emissions to prop up Monero in terms of security. So Tori has an option here that they could possibly really help things out as well when it comes to the defense of Monero. Could they help them out, put them all into RandomX CPU side for all that extra profits to help defend Monero? They have the option. Now, will they, do this? We'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, so right now we're sitting at about 145,000 with Tari helping them on the RandomX side here. Now this is by Monero alone 125,000. So we're going to go with 145,000. Now coming down to what Qubic has based on current prices and stuff, wherever the heck it is, way down here somewhere. So right now they're running on a 60-40 split. So currently right now, Qubic does have 123,000, which is slightly less than what Monero is, paying out right now by itself. But keep in mind, this is 40% of all Qubic's weekly emissions is going to the CPU miners directly through XMR shares. Now, when it comes to the 60%, this is where CPUs are competing with the GPUs as well. And the GPUs severely outperform the CPUs in terms of hash rate and performance, but CPUs are still getting like maybe 30% of this, which is still around $46,000. So now we're upwards of around $170,000, which is now more money than what Monero is paying out, even more than with what the current ratio of Tari is. So Qubic is paying more money than Monero is, even with Tari mining. Now what's coming up here is a new scheme where they are adjusting the 40-60 and 60-40 type of split here to a 50-50. That now means that Qubic is going to be giving half of its entire network starting this epoch, which is tomorrow, the next epoch, I guess. So starting tomorrow, a few things are changing. One, they're going to a 50-50 thing here. So that means 50% of the entire thing. We are now up to $153,000 to pay out to miners. We just seen a big boost here. Plus 50% of this one, which again, it could be around that 46,000 mark or something, maybe 50,000. I don't know. So add another 50. So they're around $200,000 here, roughly at 50-50 split here, depending on how much they do on the other chain on the GPU side in terms of hash rate. So we're sitting around $200,000. So we're getting quite a bit. Now, they're also promising the miners, if they do get a successful attack on Monero, they will pay the miners all of it. All of it. So now you're going to take all of the emissions of Monero and Qubic. That's $186,000 that could be coming off between the two. So now let's add that up here. So now you have that plus $153,911. That's essentially $340,000 that miners will get with a successful attack on Monero. Here is a post that is showcasing the changes, and they also added in, I guess, half the XMR. So instead of previous 40% weekly emissions, 50% will go to our POC XMR miners starting next epoch, which is tomorrow. And starting from the current epoch, does that mean right now? So that means this epoch right now, 50% of all mined XMR blocks will be paid to the miners. And instead of a single 24-hour marathon, we also, every Saturday is when Qubic does decide to do the full Monero mining to perform these attacks and stuff. From the next epoch, we'll have 3 marathons. So now they're going to do it 3 times next week. 3 times instead of just on Saturdays. I don't know what days or anything's going to be. Obviously watch. But yeah, so here we have 50% of all XMR mine blocks will be paid to the POC proc miner. So let's take a look at that actually. So coming into their pool, currently we're sitting at about 609, and there's still a day to go. 778 blocks is what they got last time. We're just going to have to base it all off what we got right now. And there's still more blocks coming. There's still a full day to go here. Let's do an average here. 609 divided by 6. So that's 101 blocks a day. So another 100 and some. So let's just say 710 blocks estimate is what, we should be getting this epoch. We could get a little bit more. It could be a little less. Who knows? We'll see what happens. So 710, and there's 0.6 XMR in a block. So that's 426 Monero. So we're going to actually have to divide that by 2. So 213 Monero will be going to miners this epoch. And so we're just going to times that by whatever the current price of Monero is. So let's just jump in here again. 200, it's going up, 292 now, 292. So that is 62,000. So that's an additional $62,000 in emissions that Monero miners are going to see this epoch alone. That's insane. 60-some thousand is more than freaking Ravencoin. That is over all of Ravencoin being added just to the Qubic CPU miners this epoch. And then it's going to be happening again next epoch with more XMR shares being sent. They're just throwing out so much money. So now, and they said they're going to do a successful attack. All the Monero will be going to that. So if that is the case, then essentially they get all the blocks of Monero. The full 125,000 will be going to Monero miners on top of that, which will be that 340,000. And coming into here, that is just under Kaspa. So essentially Kaspa is 354,000. So that means all of Qubic with the attack happening is technically higher than ETC, the 5th place cryptocurrency in terms of emissions. That is so much money that Monero has to be around $700 to $800 to pretty much pay out the same amount to secure their own security, because now you got to add up all of the Monero mining to all of these Qubic emissions, and they're just throwing everything at the miners just to bring in enough profit-driven miners to showcase that we can do this, and then eventually move on to some other coin. Who knows what their next target may be? Are they going to move to ASICs and try to hammer out Dogecoin and Litecoin? That would be insane, but we have absolutely no idea. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this whole situation down in the comment section, guys. What do you think about all of this and what's been going on? Qubic does have a lot of money to throw around. They are pretty big in the emission schedule. If we look at their total one, they're at about $307,000 per day all by themselves with nothing extra being added into there. So, Qubic alone, 307. that is, you know, in all proof of work, that is the only non-ASIC thing, and it's GPU. So they're the top consumer grade hardware emission coin out there, hands down. Hands down. They are double of Conflux. And that is, next thing is GPU and GPU. But you know, these are all ASICs at this point. So the first consumer grade hardware coin is in fact Qubic, and it is the largest by double of the next place. So in theory, Qubic could attack any other proof of work consumer grade coin without really too many issues if they success with this Monero thing. So this is a big deal that people need to really open their eyes and realize, like, wow, Qubic's bigger than maybe a lot of people thought, and they have the emissions to kind of do this thing. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. Share this video around, hit that subscribe button. More stuff coming on all this because crazy things are in the works. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out.